And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to another victorious edition, an Anthony Leal edition, a roller coaster edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Iowa. 2 nights ago, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to defeat Iowa 74-68, bringing IU to 11-8 on the season, and even 500 at 5-5 in the Big Ten. Man, what an up and down game that was for IU. Off to another great start, great intensity to kind of start the game. Obviously, that was something that we were hoping for leading in from the last game, from the previous game, was the intensity to continue, guys to stay engaged and everything like that. And it was. Everything looked locked in and everything. And then quickly, we got knocked down by our biggest drop in the roller coaster of this game. At the 17-minute mark, Malik comes down awkward, I think steps on an Iowa player as he's going through on the defensive side and tweaks his ankle in a way. It didn't look good. He wasn't wanting to put much weight on it. Went into, obviously, the locker room. We didn't see him for a while. All reports, at least now that I can find and I can see, is that x-rays on both gentlemen that were injured in this game are showing at least negative currently. So we'll cross our fingers still. Obviously, we won't hear too much. We won't be able to get too much, but hopefully some better things for them coming forward. But at least the best thing from that is the players in this game didn't let that affect them. They continued to push, put up some threes. Yes, you did remember that correctly. We were hitting threes. No donuts in this game like the last one. And at one point, we had the lead up to 17. And in the end, at half, it was at 11. Coming out of half, Iowa obviously had figured some things out. It was obvious with such a high-powered offense that Iowa has, they weren't going to sit on their hands for that long. They were going to at least figure something out. And some of that was coming off of Sanford. Coming out of the half, he was cooking, making threes, getting to the line, eventually leading to IU and Iowa in a kind of trading battle for the lead at the 10-minute mark that would kind of continue towards the end of the game. Then at the around 2-minute mark, the other hit of the game, Xavier Johnson drives to the lane, goes up for a dunk, gets fouled, holds onto the rim a little too long, or in a weird way, lets go. And as he's coming down, looks like he did the no, you don't want to do, and put his one hand out to try to catch himself. And in regards, put too much weight there, did something. Obviously, again, all reports are that x-rays were good. So hopefully it's nothing too crazy, but you feel for that guy, because just the bad luck that he can have and the emotions. Those of you that were there obviously can probably attest to that. You could tell even on the TV that he was devastated, and it's a big mental hit for him as well, because he obviously just feels very unlucky in those situations. But again, not unlike Malik, the team didn't let that affect them. They ratcheted down. Next possession for IU, Cups makes a great three. Galloway gets to the line on the next one, only hits the first one of the free throw. Sadly, it was actually pretty good otherwise, relatively, from the line for him. And on the next possession, does a good hustle play. Galloway does, grabs the rebound off the foot of the Iowa player and finds Khalil Ware sitting there unattended to dunk it home. From there, it was over. And as fitting as it can be, Leal put the cherry on top with the 2 field goals for IU, bringing that final lead to 6. Thank you for joining us, or me, I should say. I'm kind of programmed to say us. Martha was on the questionable roster for injury report going into this show, and sadly things leaned towards the questionable side. Martha's getting over a little bit of a cold, but promises to be back and available for the next game, so we'll see how it goes. I'm your host, Chad Schwartzkopf. Thank you for being here with us. Before we get into kind of talking about individual players, I do want to talk about that intensity, because I understand that that is something that, as an IU fan and as an IU team, we shouldn't be praising it. But I'm going to praise it. I'm going to be that priest up on the pulpit, raising my hands, praising it, because look at where we've been the rest of this season. Look at how many times we have talked about that, the engagement, the intensity of this team, and how they haven't looked locked in. They haven't looked fully engaged with each other on defense. And that's a very different story now in this current season, in these current past 2 games. Whatever happened for this team in that week-long break, it came at a perfect time, and it obviously affected things for this team in a very positive way. And we're seeing dividends of it, and hopefully it continues. 2 starts a pattern, and 3 and more hopefully becomes the norm. So we'll see how that carries on, but I enjoy that intensity. I enjoy that fight. And again, I think it was ramped up to another level in this game, at least especially on the defensive side in the first half. And then just overall, the way the kind of next man up situation happened in this game, with players getting injured and guys staying engaged, guys staying intense and carrying things out. There's past IU teams that haven't responded well when getting punched in the mouth, with injuries, with teams coming back, things like that. And this team has shown, at least recently in these past 2 games, that they are going to get back up. They are not going to bow down when they get punched and deal with that kind of thing. One thing that's interesting that's kind of become of that is another thing I want to speak of real quick before we get into players, is the small ball lineup we've seen a lot of recently. I think some of that has been a forced hand because of availability. When Ware was out, obviously there's not as many skilled big guys then to be able to play in. So he's had to go to a little bit smaller of lineups. And then with Malik going down in this game, we had to go to smaller lineups as well. It just started off, at least in this game, with Walker going in, which is a little bit going smaller. Walker is a little bit more mobile of a 4. But at times, we saw what we've been wanting to see, and that is McKenzie playing the 4. And at one time, I believe as well, we played with 4 guards in there. And I just like that so much more. There's a lot more movement out of the team. There's a lot more things going on with the team when we have that guard lineup in. You get a great matchup when you have and great chemistry when you were able to have Anthony Leal in there with Trey Galloway. There's a comfort between those two. There's great ball movement that happens when we see that. And a lot of those players that we have in there at that point, an Anthony Leal, a Trey Galloway, and others can switch on the defensive end, pretty much the 1 through 4. I would even argue that sometimes you see Leal and Trey are very good at least fronting and dealing with on small occasions the 5. So I'm very, at least in the situation and the hand that's been dealt to IU, enjoy going with this smaller ball lineup. And I hope the coaches see that that is something, even if we do get a full roster again, that we need to go to. Now, obviously, that's a tough situation, because when you have both Malik and Ware available, they're 2 of our best players, arguably probably our 2 best players. You could argue what McKenzie is now in that lineup. They're easily, those 3 guys are our best players. You're going to split hairs when you're talking about the order of those guys. But it's hard then to go to that smaller lineup when 2 of the 3 of your best players are big guys like that. Now, it's not to say that we can't try to play a little more outside with that. And as it's been said on Assembly Call and a few other places, it's the weird situation that IU has, where IU's tallest man is more of a forward and guy that is better playing away from the basket, not with his back to the basket. And our smaller 4, or our 4 player in Malik, is truly a small 5 and is better with his back to the basket and making his spin moves and his little drop hook shot. So maybe we play that smaller ball, but you see Ware out more at the perimeter. Maybe that's a way to do that kind of same situation, but have those two players in at the same time. I don't know. Might be something we see IU play with down the road. But as it is now, I'm happy that we're able to adjust with the hand that we are dealt. And we're doing great with that small ball lineup. That's somewhere that college basketball is headed. We have struggled with guard play. Yes, I understand. And smaller lineup means more guards, but they're playing at a better level defensively, therefore leading to better things on the offensive end for this game. But let's switch and start getting into talking about players in this game. And the first one that we have to talk about, obviously, myself being a townie, someone that went to Bloomington High School South as well, same as this gentleman did. What a game from Anthony Leal. It's so great to see him have a game like that, to also get to watch as Hoosier Nation, all the great social media videos, all the posts, all the just excitement that brought to Hoosier Nation. Such a huge dopamine hit for Hoosier Nation to see all that happen for such a great kid, a kid that's stuck with the program, who's had that great mentality, who's been about the right things, who is just a Hoosier through and through. Now, we've seen him get a few more minutes recently, and he has been contributing. It's been in those ways that's kind of been off the stat sheet. He's been that kind of veteran guy that's gotten in, that has the leadership. He's out there talking on defense. Defense is definitely a lot better when he's out there because he's talking, he's more engaged. He kind of runs things. He's a great leader on the court. This is just the very first game that he's been able to then turn that around and put up numbers on the offensive side. And he finishes, obviously, in this game with a career high 13 points, 4 for 6 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 on the line, and an impressive, which again shows the engagement that he has and the hustle that he has and just how he's able to use the size that he has, because he's a very solid player, a very impressive 7 rebounds in just 22 minutes in this game. So I'm not going to grow to expect this from him, but I think this is very much something that we could see out of him now. This could be that confidence builder. It helps to see that ball go in. It helps to see that, yes, if when the ball is passed to you, you can shoot it now. You don't have to feel like you're not the one that's going to contribute. You don't have to just keep passing through to the next guy. You can take that shot. You can go for it, because he's a great 3-point shooter. And if he's in there at the end too, we'll get him to take that half court shot as well. As if you've been to any IU game, and if you haven't seen this, you got to go a little bit earlier. But during the shoot arounds before they go in, they're always taking half court shots, and Anthony makes a good amount of those shots. So he has a good shot. He has a good player. Yes, his athleticism may not be top tier, but he hustles. And I mean, maybe his athleticism is a little bit better than we even are giving him credit for. He had that great kind of jump through layup in the second half as well. That looked really nice. So it makes you so happy, makes your heart warm. It's such a great feeling as a Hoosier to see a fellow Hoosier, a kid that's all about the right things, be rewarded like this. And in a way, I know he wants more. I know he's not finished, but at least for us, we feel like we can exhale that he's got a bookmark like this, a game like this, that we can talk about, that we can hang his career and hat on, that look at what he was still able to do. Look at a kid that sat on the bench as long as he did, didn't complain, didn't whine, but got in there and did what his team needed. And we don't get this win without him. So great to see that. And hats off to him. Hope to see it more. Hope to see him. It may just be something where he sees 6 points here and there, 6 to 4. That's probably what it could be an average if he gets a decent amount of play time If we continue to see about 20 minutes or so out of him, that's probably what we will see. Obviously, depending on what the injury is of X and stuff, with him being out, minutes are going to be a little bit higher for him. And if they are, that's great. Let's see this contribution continue. Another big kudos in this game that I want to say is for Ware. Ware was the leading scorer of this game at 23 points, being his usual offensive efficient self, going 8 for 10 from the field, 1 for 1 from the 3-point line, made his 1 3 that was out there. That's great. I like him at least taking one a game because he has that shot. Just needs to get a little bit better on his free throws. He was 6 for 10. Did nab down 10 rebounds in this game, 2 assists, 3 blocks. And just, boy, was he tough in this game. He toughed it out, just shut down their star freshman, quote unquote freshman of the year, according to the commentators who were able to give it to him. Shut him down, and he ended up with, hold on, I'm bringing up the box score to even find it in this one, just 2 points from him, 1 for 9 from the field. So what a great game from him defensively. What a great game from him on the offensive side. And what a great game from him just being tough. Again, that was his question mark coming into this. That was the rumors coming out of Oregon was, is this kid tough enough? And he showed that, especially towards the end. He played a lot of minutes in this game because of Malik's injury, finished with 35 minutes in this game. So played a good deal. And at the end, you could tell he was gassed. And for me, I think many people are wondering what that injury is. And to me, being at the end of the game like it was, I think he was a little tired. I think he might have been cramping. Obviously, you didn't see him stretch out, do that kind of things you normally see with cramping, but he seemed to be more grabbing his calf than he was kind of like shaking out his ankle or anything like that. I hope that's my hope. Obviously, who knows? We'll see. But obviously, in this game, we weren't going to expect to see very many minutes of him, with him being out the last 2 games that he was. I think it was even said by coach before the game that Ware was going to play, but he wasn't sure how many minutes he'd get. So obviously, they were going to probably try to scale him back. But obviously, situations happened as they did, and he had to play a little bit longer. But just love the engagement that he had in this game. Was a force down there, getting a lot of offensive rebounds as well. The putbacks, great engagement, great playing from Ware. Fantastic from him. Trey as well had a fairly quiet game offensively, but I did like what he did defensively. He was really good at guarding the on-ball defense from him. Really shut down Perkins in the first half. Perkins only had I think a few points in the first half, but Perkins got his in the second. But just did a great job denying the drives, staying with them in the drive, just making all the shots tough for Iowa's guards that are very elite and good guards that they have there. Overall as well, I would say all of our guards have improved considerably on the defensive end of the ball. That was a big concern earlier in the season where they were getting beat. They were getting blown by. The overhelping, obviously, situation that we had when we were more in the nail slot rim situation wasn't helping it either. But they just feel more engaged. Trey as well. And closer to what I expected going into this season from him defensively. Just more of a shutdown kind of defender and denies that drive, continues to move his feet, stay in front of his man. Does great battling through screens and everything like that. So I think he had a really great game. And I think a lot of that has to do also, I think he has a certain amount of comfortability when he is in the game with Leal. They calm each other down in that sense. Obviously, Leal more so to Trey. But Trey finished with 9 points, 3 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. That 3 shot on him for him is still a pretty big conundrum for me. I don't understand that. Who can shoot so efficiently in the previous season and has just struggled like he has this year. Hopefully he can find it at some point, because it will only help him if he can at least be a little bit more of a threat. Because as it is right now, and as his stats are, when teams scout IU and whatever guards are going to have to be on Trey, they know they don't have to be up on him too much. They can favor the drive, because they know his percentage is low, and his confidence is currently, I believe, as well, low on that 3-point shot. But just like Leal, he was a monster on the boards for IU, getting 7 rebounds as well. And like I said in the open of the game, a very important, albeit lucky, rebound at the end of the game there, where it bounced off the foot of the Iowa guy. He caught it and then found Khalil for the putback. McKenzie, I think, had a good game. I think he was, again, offensively trying to force things a little bit more. His shot was a little bit off. I think that was equally so in a stretch for IU in the second half. And IU has these stretches, and they confound me to a degree, but it just kind of is the ups and downs of IU basketball, where we get to that point in the first half where we are moving the ball well, we're getting up great shots, assist rates are going high, and then we get to a point in the second half where we start to just try to play one-man ball, or we get too locked into the first action that we're trying to create, the first play or first action that we want to do, the dump down to the post, or a curling screen from McKenzie to the basket, or freeing him up to kind of make his own shot. We try to stick to that too much, and we don't go away from it and adjust and go to plan B. That's at least my interpretation of those kind of woes. And then that kind of ends up going into a realm of like individual play or hero ball. And that's what we fall into. We eventually have been lucky enough to knock ourselves out of that. But that is a detriment and something that needs to improve. But McKenzie did finish with 11 points. But here is where he was not as efficient on the floor as he has been in the past, being 4 for 17, 2 for 8 from the 3-point line, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 2 assists, no turnovers, at least from him, 23 minutes, finished with a +3 in the plus and minus situation. So decent stats for him. Obviously, that efficiency on his shot wasn't quite there, taking too many odd long threes when the play, like I said, when the play wasn't completely there, getting him the decent shot. And I think he as well, and I think this is just coming from a freshman, not quite knowing the college game and still settling into the college game. He has made up his mind. When the ball is being rotated to him on the 3-point line, I feel like it looks like he already knows what he wants to do with the ball. He knows that I'm going to drive this time, or I'm going to shoot this time, rather than taking the play. And I think that leads to him forcing those shots, those long twos, because then he gets into situations where, oh, this is not what I wanted to happen. There's other times where, yes, I think he is reading possibly the offense, but that's going to come with time in college ball, and a freshman's going to grow and do a lot better in those situations moving forward. So as far as other players on the team, I think Cups came in and did the right things that we needed him to do in this game. He was more of the facilitator in this game. Had just finished with 11 minutes, so didn't play as much, but was IU's highest plus minus at 14. Made only one shot, had 3 points, that one 3-pointer, that very important 3-pointer. So that was at least good to see in this game. Finished with 2 assists as well. So just, again, being that facilitator for IU. Anthony Walker, again, I think goes in there and is that kind of senior mentality kind of player, does the right things and moves. Finished with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Peyton Sparks got in there for a few minutes, had that ridiculous rejection that he did. And thank goodness the rest weren't paying attention too much. You saw him kind of do the finger wave at him after that block and take it away real quick because he realized he shouldn't do that. That was kind of fun to see. But again, good contributions overall, pretty well spread out point distribution in this game. Obviously, will be very questionable to see what the injuries are, what the prognosis is moving forward with these players that got injured in this. And hopefully it's not a long one, but as odd as it is to say, how the team responded when those situations happened, how the team is staying intense and engaged in this game, I feel a lot better dealing with these injuries right now for IU. Granted, the schedule's not the greatest of what we have coming up. And I don't mean the current game coming up, but in the near future for IU. But at least the headspace is right. And it's I feel a lot better with having these two guys out now and how we're getting contributions from other guys than I would have a month ago. A month ago, I'd be freaked out. If you told me a month ago that at the beginning of February, we'd be starting the month of February, and we wouldn't know the extent of Xavier Johnson being out and Malik Renew being out, I would be scared. I would be scared. I mean, that's scary to say. It is slightly scary to say, even right now. But because of how guys are playing, it feels a lot better in this situation right now. It's weird. That's weird to say. I don't know if it's bad to say, but I feel better with where things are now in dealing with those hardships in those situations. It's going to be tough. It's going to be harder than it would have been even with those guys in. But I feel like this team is going to battle. They're going to do what they need to do, and they're going to at least fight. So that's all we can ask for right now from this team. I do want to, at least on this point, shout out to what's going on this weekend at IU. Penn State, obviously, is at 12 o'clock for the next game. The assembly call guys are going to be there in Bloomington and everything. I usually try to get out for this game. Fortunately, I can't this year. Things are a little too busy at home with work and everything. But they will be doing their regular event at the Upstairs Pub. Upstairs Pub, such a great pub. It's a place that I used to go to a lot when we lived in Bloomington. Changed quite a bit, grown a lot bigger, great patio space and everything like that. But they will be there, I believe, a little bit before the game. Crimson Cast guys will be there hanging out during the game. You can watch the game with them if you're not going to the game, but then go back to Upstairs Pub right afterwards. The guys are going to do a live post-game show for everyone there at the Upstairs. Hoosier Ticket Project will have a booth there and everything. So I'm sure Amanda will be there. You can say hey to Amanda. Martha may be there as well. So you might be able to meet Martha in person as well. But just a great coming together of a great network of Hoosiers. And so happy to be a part of that family to a degree and everything. So sad I can't make it out there. But if you are in the area, please try to make it out there and be a part of that community. Again, Upstairs Pub is 21 and over. So just a heads up for that. Find that babysitter and enjoy it for me. Have one for me. But again, finishing my final thoughts on this game. What a roller coaster. What a joyful one. What an exciting one. What a game that brings such a smile to my face, but also some frustration with these injuries. Xavier Johnson, just so sad for him to have to deal with this again. The situations and the cards that he's been dealt in his career towards the end here is just tough. I hate it for him. He's already having a tough go of it mentally, and this obviously doesn't help things. But we'll hope for a decent diagnosis and a quick recovery for him. And hopefully he can get his mind right in the good space too. And we'll see him back on the court contributing for IU. For Malik as well, hopefully this is something that he doesn't have to have surgery on, something that he can rest and get back to us when he can, and is not something that is going to bother him long term. Time will only tell. Time may not even tell. It is IU. We don't get to hear about this stuff very often and everything, but we will see. We will see what becomes of that. But again, I am very happy with how guys are playing, how the intensity is carrying over for this IU team. So it's re-energized me, and I hope it has re-energized you as well. So that's going to do it for this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for hanging in there with me as one man rambles on to you about Indiana basketball. You can follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you can find out more information about the show and when we're going to go live. Follow Martha as well at The Mop Lady if you don't already. Thank you for Bob Thompson for producing the music you hear on the show, this great theme song. We'll be back again the morning after the next show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe as well if you are watching on the different podcast streams. Thank you guys. Go out there, have yourselves a wonderful day, and let's go Hoosiers.